The Walt Disney Company and its executives think you are to blame for why their films are absolutely dog crap. That's right. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. So let's get into this over here. This is over at thatparkplace.com. An anonymous Disney executive says moviegoers that criticize the company's agenda want movies, quote, that conform to regressive gender stereotypes. The projection is strong with this Disney executive. So basically, how all this happened is Matthew Bellany, he is one of the writers over there at this outlet called Puck, wrote an article last Thursday documenting how the Walt Disney Company's favorability has declined among Americans in a poll conducted by Quorum for Puck. The poll found that Disney had the highest unfavorability rating among other blue chip companies. It clocked in with a 21% unfavorable score. Comparatively, Sony had the lowest with just a 5% unfavorable score. The poll also found that respondents are divided by political party. It found that fully 30% of Republicans and 26% of independents have an unfavorable opinion of the company, compared to only 8% of Democrats. Pollster David Heron shared his thoughts about these results, stating, while conservatives give Disney higher unfavorables, it's not perceived wokeness that's keeping people from theaters. The more immediate issues facing the entire industry, not just Disney, is the quality of the content and the price of movie going. That I don't know if I believe with his assertion there, but that is what he said. In response to this article, an anonymous Disney executive informed Bellany that the fans are to blame for Disney's films bombing. Sonny Bunch shared a screenshot from Bellany's newsletter, and this is what the Disney executive said in response to the article about Disney's favorability ratings. And this is what the executive said. Everyone says it's the movies, stupid, which is an easy thing for people to say. More appealing movies are a great way to jump the political issues, but more and more our audience, or the segment of the audience that has been politicized, equate the perceived messaging in a film as a quality issue. So let's stop it right there. So they are saying the audience has been politicized and they are not the ones trying to push an agenda. This is an absolute lie. This Disney executive is gaslighting you by omission, because it is the Walt Disney Company that has been pushing an agenda. We have the receipts. We have Bob Chapek, former Disney CEO, literally writing an email to all staff telling that the employees of the Walt Disney Company that they would be getting around of bills preventing the stopping of instruction of gender identity and sexual orientation into their content. So they were going to be indoctrinating children in kindergarten through third grade through their Disney programming. We've seen the evidence of this. One needs to look no further than Disney Junior. The Young Star Wars Adventure show is clearly trying to normalize this transgender ideology. We can look at Ariel. They're clearly trying to normalize evil in the form of taking Ursula, an actual sea witch, and turning her into a, quote, lovable ant. So clearly the agenda is being pushed there. We see this in a lot of their Marvel stuff, the feminism that they push through that, whether it's either through gender replacing, emasculization of male characters, bringing down male characters to elevate female characters, elevating the female characters so that they are pretty much unstoppable. Nothing can harm them. They are all powerful, and the male characters are usually their villains that they have to destroy and defeat. Lots of examples of this. We also have literally quotes from Disney executives such as Vivian Ware talking about how they were removing all kinds of gendered language from their introductions in the parks, and how their Disney cast members in the parks greet people, and then also all the audio recordings and things like that. We have people that are on some of their Disney Channel programming talking about how they are inserting a not so secret gay agenda into their shows. We have Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige admitting that movies like The Eternals were bumped up the production schedule because it pushes, quote unquote, diversity in all its forms, with the gender swapping, the sexual orientation swapping, the race swapping, all of that kind of stuff. So clearly there is an agenda at the Walt Disney Company, and they're trying to blame us for quote unquote being politicized when they are clearly politicized and trying to push an agenda onto us. So this person is gaslighting you through omission because the Walt Disney Company is the one who has become politicized and is actively trying to push that agenda on its audiences, not the other way around. So, with that out of the way, let's continue. They won't say they find female empowerment distasteful in the Marvels or Star Wars, the latest trilogy starring Daisy Ridley, but they will say they don't like those movies because they are bad. That's absolutely bogus, too. You go to a lot of the larger channels that criticize this stuff. You go to Gary Beekler at Neurotics. You go to Jeremy Griggs at Geeks and Gamers. You go to Will Jordan at The Critical Drinker. You go to OMB Reviews. You go to Ryan Kinnell. You name it, you go to WDW Pro, you go to Valiant Renegade, you go to Midnight's Edge, you go to Yellow Flash, you go to John Della Rose. We're all calling this stuff out for the injection of like feminism very clearly, especially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's why the term MCU has been coined. That's why Rey is called the Mary Sue. It's all because we're clearly calling out the feminism in those movies. And if you want to crouch it behind female empowerment, that's fine. But let's not beat around the bush here. The critics of Marvel and Star Wars are very well aware of criticizing the agenda, which is exactly what I'm doing right now as well. So it's not just that the films are bad; they clearly criticize them for the agendas that the Walt Disney Company is pushing. I mean, the Critical Drinker coined the term "the message." I mean, are you kidding me? So make better movies becomes code for make movies that conform to regressive gender stereotypes or put men front and center in the narrative. Yes, people don't want to be beat over the head with absolutely ridiculous, unnatural, intersectional feminism, which makes absolutely no sense, is illogical, and at the end of the day, it is regressive. And then we can just look at what the Walt Disney Company is pushing. They're the ones who are actually pushing regressive gender ideology and with transgender ideology, where they think that women can become men and men can become women. Talk about regression. That's not only regression, that's mental illness. It's also evil. So this Disney executive is completely unhinged. They are obviously an activist, and they are trying to blame you and me for rejecting the evil that they are trying to imprint upon us through their films. Nevertheless, person goes on and says, which is what you're seeing now and what Bob Iger's pivot is about right now. So if you're wondering what this Bob Iger's pivot is about, I really don't know what it is. I think I've made a number of videos about this. He's always talking about, I need to quiet the noise. When he first came back, he did a town hall talking about quiet the noise. We had this investors report, I guess, a couple months ago where he said that he wanted to quiet the noise as well. And then he talked about how he needed to get Marvel like back on track and all of this stuff. Well, I haven't seen any of that. I haven't seen any evidence of him doing an actual pivot. When I hear quiet the noise, it's more like, oh, we don't want this to make headlines. We don't want people talking about this. We're still going to do it. We're just going to be doing it on the down low now and maybe trying to do it more subtly than what we had previously been doing. But again, you can look at the latest aerial promo for Disney Junior. There's nothing subtle about that either. It's in your face. It's beating you over the head. Look back at this Star Wars Young Jedi Adventure story that just came out in November, and they're pushing quote unquote non-binary character, pushing that transgender ideology in it. So I'm not seeing any change. Look at Echo. We just saw Echo come out last month. No change there from Marvel Studios. I'm not really seeing any change at Star Wars or Lucasfilm either. So when we actually see change, maybe we can talk about a pivot, but I don't think there's any kind of pivot happening either. So again, I think this person is just clearly an unhinged lunatic activist that works at the Walt Disney Company and is the perfect example of why the company has such unfavorability ratings and is on the decline, and why these IPs such as the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Star Wars are shedding viewers at exorbitant rates. But those are my thoughts on the matter. Let me know what you make of what this Disney executive had to say. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.